My beloved child, before you do anything else today, stay with me for a few moments, because I want to ask you something. Have you noticed that lately you're tired all the time? Not the kind of tired that comes from working too hard. Not the kind that disappears after a good night's sleep. A different kind of tired. The kind you can't explain. You went to bed on time. You slept through the night. You woke up this morning. But before your feet even touched the floor, you already felt exhausted. You sat on the edge of your bed for a moment. You looked around the room. You knew exactly what needed to be done today. The dishes, the laundry, the doctor's appointment, the phone call you've been putting off, the bills waiting on the kitchen counter, and suddenly, you didn't feel ready for any of it. Not because you're lazy, not because you're weak, but because your heart whispered, I don't know if I have the strength for another day. Maybe no one knows you've been feeling this way. When people ask, how are you? You smile. You say, I'm doing okay. Then you keep walking, because explaining this kind of exhaustion feels impossible. How do you tell someone that your body isn't the problem? Your heart is. Some afternoons, you sit down in your favorite chair, telling yourself you'll rest for just 10 minutes. An hour passes, the television is on, but you haven't followed a single word. You're not sleeping, you're not relaxing. You're simply staring into space, trying to gather enough strength to keep going. Other days, you stand in the grocery store, looking at shelves you've seen 100 times before, trying to remember what you came to buy, not because your memory is failing, but because your mind is carrying so many worries that even simple things have become difficult. Perhaps you've noticed something else. Little problems now feel much bigger than they used to. A small bill arrives in the mail, and your heart sinks. The phone rings, and before answering, you wonder, what bad news is coming now? A family member says, can we talk? And your stomach immediately tightens. You didn't used to live this way. But somewhere along the journey, life became heavy. Not all at once. Little by little, one disappointment, then another, one loss, then another, one responsibility after another, until one day, you realized you couldn't remember what it felt like to feel truly rested. My precious child, I know exactly where this weariness comes from, because I have watched you carry things you were never meant to carry alone. I have seen you lie awake at night, thinking about your children, wondering if they're really okay. I have seen you calculate the same bills over and over, hoping the numbers would somehow change. I have watched you sit quietly in a waiting room, trying not to imagine what the doctor might say. I have seen you worry about tomorrow, before today was even over. No one else knew what was happening inside your mind, but I did. Every anxious thought, every silent sigh, every prayer you whispered while washing dishes, driving home, or staring out the kitchen window before sunrise, I heard them all. And today, I want to tell you something that may surprise you. The greatest weight you are carrying is not on your shoulders, it's inside your heart. That is why sleep hasn't restored you, because your body has been resting while your heart has been working all night. Stay with me, because before this message is over, I am going to show you why your soul feels so exhausted and how to find the kind of rest that sleep alone can never give. My beloved child, I want to ask you something. When was the last time your mind was truly quiet? Not for 5 minutes. Not while you were asleep. I mean truly quiet. A moment when you weren't worrying about someone, planning for something, remembering something painful, or preparing yourself for something that might go wrong. It's been a long time, hasn't it? Even when you're sitting still, your mind keeps moving. You pour yourself a cup of coffee. You sit by the window. The morning is peaceful. The birds are singing. The sun is shining. But instead of enjoying the moment, your thoughts are already racing. Did I remember to pay that bill? I hope my daughter made it home safely. What if the doctor's test comes back with bad news? How long will my savings last? Before you've even finished your first cup of coffee, your heart has already carried tomorrow. That kind of weight is exhausting. Maybe you've noticed something else. At night, your body is ready for sleep, but your mind refuses to stop. You turn off the light, close your eyes, adjust your pillow. The room is finally quiet. Yet the conversation inside your head only gets louder. You replay something someone said 3 days ago. You remember a mistake you made years ago. You imagine conversations that haven't happened yet. You prepare answers to questions no one has even asked. You solve problems that don't even exist. An hour passes, then another. Your body is lying in bed, but your heart is still running. My child, no wonder you're tired. You've been working overtime inside your own mind. Some of you wake up several times during the night, not because of noise, not because of pain, but because your thoughts wake you before the alarm ever could. You glance at the clock, 2:17, 3:41, 4:28. You tell yourself, go back to sleep. But instead, another worry arrives, then another. By morning, you've been awake for hours, even though you never left your bed. I have been there through every restless night. I saw you staring into the darkness. I heard the prayer you barely whispered. Lord, I can't keep living like this. My precious child, that prayer reached my heart because I never created you to live in constant survival mode. I never asked you to carry every possible outcome before it happens. Look at how much energy you've spent trying to prevent things you cannot control. You've imagined worst-case scenarios that never happened. You've carried conversations before anyone spoke a word. You've feared phone calls before the phone ever rang. You've suffered over possibilities, not realities. Think about yesterday. How much time did you spend worrying about something that never actually happened? How many peaceful moments were stolen by fears that never became true? The enemy knows something. If he cannot steal your faith, he will try to steal your peace, because a heart without peace quickly becomes a heart without strength. That is why you feel exhausted before the day even begins. Your body hasn't been doing all the work. Your mind has. Your heart has. Every what if, every hidden fear, every burden you've refused to put down, they have been quietly draining you, day after day, month after month. Listen to me carefully. There is a difference between being responsible and trying to control everything. Responsibility says, I'll do what I can today. Fear says, I must figure out every tomorrow before it arrives. Responsibility brings wisdom. Fear steals sleep. Responsibility gives effort. Fear demands perfection. And my child, you have been trying to carry tomorrow before today is even finished. That is a burden I never asked you to carry. I did not ask you to predict every problem. I did not ask you to solve every future. I did not ask you to keep your family safe through worry. I asked you to trust me, not because your concerns don't matter. They do. I know why you worry. You love deeply. You care deeply. You want the people you love to be safe. There is nothing wrong with that. But somewhere, care quietly turned into constant fear, and constant fear slowly became constant exhaustion. Stay with me, because there is one truth you have forgotten, a truth that can finally free your heart from carrying a weight it was never designed to bear. My beloved child, let me tell you where so much of your strength has gone. It didn't disappear overnight. It wasn't stolen in one terrible moment. It left you, one worry at a time. Every time you tried to solve a problem that hadn't happened yet, your heart gave away a little more of its strength. Every time you imagined the worst, your soul became a little more tired. Every time you carried tomorrow, you became too exhausted to live today. Think about yesterday. How many times did your mind leave the present moment? You were washing the dishes, but thinking about your next doctor's appointment. You were folding laundry, but worrying about your son who hadn't called yet. You were driving to the store, but imagining what might happen if the economy became worse. Your body was here, but your heart was already living in a future that hadn't arrived. No wonder you're weary. You have been living 2 days at once. Today's responsibilities and tomorrow's fears. My child, that is far more than I ever asked you to carry. Do you remember how children trust? When they are tired, they simply fall asleep in their parents' arms. They don't stay awake wondering if the roof will leak. They don't worry about tomorrow's groceries. They don't calculate next month's bills. They rest because they trust the one holding them. Somewhere along the journey, you stopped resting like my child and started carrying life as though everything depended on you. You began believing, if I don't keep worrying, something will go wrong. If I stop thinking about it, I'll be unprepared. If I keep replaying every possibility, maybe I can prevent the pain. But tell me honestly, has all that worrying given your heart peace? Has it changed the doctor's report before you received it? Has it added $1 to your bank account? Has it guaranteed your children will never struggle? Has it kept the people you love from growing older? No, it has only made you tired. So very tired. My precious child, there is a reason I told you not to worry about tomorrow. Not because tomorrow is unimportant, but because tomorrow has never been in your hands. It has always been in mine. Look at your life. How many times were you certain you wouldn't make it through something? Yet here you are. You thought the grief would destroy you. It didn't. You thought the diagnosis would be the end. Yet I carried you through. You thought the bills would bury you. Still, I provided in ways you never expected. You thought your heart would never smile again. And somehow, little by little, I brought joy back into places that once knew only sorrow. Have I failed you yet? No, my child, not once. Then why do you keep believing that I will fail you tomorrow? I know that question may be difficult to hear, but I ask it with love, because I don't want fear to keep stealing the days I have given you. Imagine carrying a heavy suitcase everywhere you go, into the kitchen, into the grocery store, into church, into bed. After a while, your arms begin to ache. Your back hurts. Your steps become slower. Then someone walks up to you and says, "Let me carry that for you." But instead of handing it over, you grip it even tighter. Wouldn't that seem strange? Yet, my child, that is what you've been doing with your worries. Every day I whisper, "Give them to me." And every day you quietly pick them back up again. Not because you don't love me, but because you've carried them for so long. They've started to feel like part of who you are. They are not. You are not your anxiety. You are not your endless list of worries. You are not the fear that wakes you at 3 in the morning. You are my child. And my child was never created to live with a heart that is always bracing for the next disaster. So today, I am asking you to loosen your grip. Not all at once, just enough to let me take one burden, then another, because I never promised that life would have no burdens, but I did promise that you would never have to carry them alone. Stay with me, because there is one final step your heart must take before it can experience the rest it has been longing for all this time. My beloved child, there is something I have watched you do again and again and again. You pray. You tell me everything that is weighing on your heart. You say, "Lord, I'm giving this to you." For a few moments, you feel lighter. You stand up. You wipe away your tears. You believe everything will be okay. Then, before the day is over, you quietly take the burden back. You check your phone again. You replay the conversation again. You calculate the numbers again. You imagine the worst again. You say you've given it to me, but you're still carrying it. My child, how many nights have you spent trying to solve tomorrow while lying in bed today? You tell yourself, I'm just thinking, but you're not simply thinking anymore. You're carrying. You're carrying things that haven't happened. You're carrying answers you don't have. You're carrying responsibilities that belong to me. Look at what your days have become. You're eating breakfast, but your mind is already at next week's appointment. You're driving to work, but you're imagining what could happen 6 months from now. You're sitting in church, but instead of listening, you're silently rehearsing every problem waiting for you at home. Your body is here, but your heart is always somewhere else. No wonder you feel worn out. You never allow yourself to live in the moment I have given you. Instead, you keep living inside moments that don't even exist yet. My child, fear always tries to rush you into a future where my grace has not yet arrived. That's why tomorrow feels unbearable. Because you are imagining tomorrow without remembering that I will already be there. Think back over your life. How many times did you say, I don't know how I'm going to get through this? Yet somehow you did. Not because you were stronger than the problem, but because I was stronger than your fear. The strength you needed didn't arrive 6 months early. It arrived exactly when you needed it. The wisdom you needed didn't come before the decision. It came when it was time to choose. The comfort you needed didn't appear before the loss. It came while you were walking through it. That is how I have always worked. I give you today's grace for today's burdens. Tomorrow's grace will be waiting for you tomorrow. So why are you trying to live tomorrow using today's strength? My precious child, that is why your soul feels empty. You're spending today's strength on tomorrow's fears. Imagine receiving enough money to buy food for today. Instead of eating, you spend it all trying to prepare for problems that may never come. By evening, you're hungry, not because there wasn't enough, but because you used today's provision somewhere it was never meant to go. Many hearts do the same thing. I give them peace for today, but before noon, they've already spent it worrying about next month. I give them strength for today, but before the afternoon arrives, they've already exhausted it imagining next year. Then they ask, Lord, why am I so tired? Because you have been living beyond the day I asked you to live. Listen carefully. I have never asked you to carry your entire future. I have only asked you to walk with me. Today, one conversation, one decision, one prayer, one sunrise, one day at a time. My child, you have been afraid that if you stop worrying, you'll become careless. But trust is not carelessness. Trust is believing that while you are faithfully doing what you can, I am faithfully doing what you cannot. There are doors you cannot open, hearts you cannot change, diseases you cannot heal, children you cannot protect every second of every day, years you cannot get back, tomorrow you cannot control. But there is one who can, and I have never once asked you to take my place. So tonight, when you lie down, I don't want you to carry your family's future into your bed. I don't want you to carry your finances onto your pillow. I don't want you to carry every unanswered question into the darkness. Lay them down, not because they aren't important, but because you are not carrying them alone anymore. Stay with me just a little longer, because I want to pray over your weary heart and ask my peace to quiet the thoughts that have been stealing your strength for far too long. My beloved child, before you leave, I want you to do something with me. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, for just a moment. Stop trying to figure everything out. Stop trying to solve every problem. Stop trying to carry everyone you love on your own shoulders. Just be still. Take one slow breath, then another. Do you feel that? The world keeps telling you, keep pushing, keep worrying, keep holding everything together. But my voice is different. I am saying, come and rest. Not because your responsibilities have disappeared, but because you no longer have to carry them by yourself. My precious child, I know you've been strong for a long time, longer than most people realize. You've been the one others depend on. The one who keeps going, the one who says, I'll handle it, even when your own heart was quietly falling apart. You kept showing up, you kept smiling, you kept helping everyone else. But deep inside, there have been moments when you've whispered, Lord, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I heard you, every single time, and today, I don't want you to leave this message carrying the same weight you brought into it. So let's pray together. Father, you know how tired I have become, not just in my body, but in my heart. You know every worry that has followed me through the day and kept me awake through the night. You know the fears I never tell anyone, the responsibilities that feel too heavy, the future I've been trying so hard to control. Today, I admit that I cannot carry all of this anymore, so I place it into your hands. Take the burdens that are crushing my heart. Quiet the thoughts that never seem to stop. Replace my fear with your peace. Replace my striving with your rest. Teach me to trust you, one day at a time. When tomorrow tries to steal today's joy, help me remember that tomorrow already belongs to you. When my mind begins racing again, gently remind me that you are still on the throne. Help me sleep without fear. Help me wake up with hope. Help me stop carrying what you have already promised to carry for me. Thank you for never growing tired of listening to me. Thank you for never becoming impatient with my weakness. Thank you for loving me even when I feel too exhausted to keep going. I trust you, Father. Amen. My beloved child, when this message ends, your circumstances may not change immediately. The doctor's appointment may still be waiting. The bills may still be on the kitchen table. Your family may still have struggles. The questions may still be unanswered. But something can change today. The way you carry those things. You can keep carrying them alone, or you can walk beside me. Because there is a great difference between carrying a burden by yourself and carrying it with the one who holds the entire world in his hands. So the next time you wake up and that familiar heaviness tries to settle over your heart, don't immediately reach for your worries. Reach for me. Before you check your phone, talk to me. Before you begin thinking about everything that could go wrong, remember everything I have already brought you through. Before fear has the first word, let my promises have it instead. My child, you have survived every difficult day behind you, not because you were never weak, but because I was always faithful, and I will be just as faithful tomorrow, as I have been every day before. So walk into this new day, not carrying fear, but carrying hope, not carrying tomorrow, but holding my hand. Because my strength has never failed you, and it never will. Before you go, if today you are choosing to stop carrying every burden by yourself, I want you to write one simple word in the comments. Rest. Not because one word changes everything, but because it is a quiet declaration that today you are choosing to trust me more than your fears. And if you know someone who has been silently carrying more than they can bear, share this message with them. You may never know how much they needed the reminder that they don't have to be strong every moment of every day. Now receive my peace. Receive my strength. Receive the rest your soul has been longing for. I am with you, today, tomorrow, and always.